Phil, first of all, tell us a little bit about this 125th anniversary bobblehead collection involving Michigan State basketball.
Yeah, so it's a special year for Michigan State, celebrating the 125th anniversary of college basketball at the university. And what better way to celebrate than with bobbleheads? So we worked with the university to come up with five special edition bobbleheads. The first one featuring the mascot Sparty, and then two bobbleheads of Tom Izzo and Judd Heathcote, both coaches who brought national championships to Michigan State, and thought what better way to celebrate them than with bobbleheads, one sort of standard bobblehead, and then one more of a championship celebration bobblehead for each of them.
Yeah, it is easy to do that with some of the not only leaders but also the figures as well. When I say you being the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum, when you were talking with Michigan State, were they talking about any of the historic players as well? Obviously, when you talk Michigan State basketball, one thinks immediately of Irvin Johnson, perhaps his national championship teammate Greg Kelser, or maybe Mateen Cleaves. Was any players considered? Not really.
Yeah, so they reached out to us actually about participating in the program. We produced other bobblehead for them, and they wanted us to produce some bobbleheads. We would have loved to produce bobbleheads of players, and I'm sure they would have loved to as well. We did ask about it, but it was a little bit more complicated with getting the players' permissions. So at this time, no, but maybe down the road we'll have some bobbleheads of players to share. And now with name, image, likeness in college sports, there's also the opportunity for bobbleheads of current players.
Tell us a little bit about the process, not only obviously with Michigan State it being 125 years, but obviously the museum works with other schools and other pro entities as well. So this is almost like an ongoing process, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, we're on a daily basis sort of finding out something new that is going on, whether it's a new mascot or a new anniversary, new players doing something viral. So, yeah, there's always opportunities for new bobbleheads. But, yeah, 125 is a special year. There's a really cool logo that the university developed, and that's incorporated in all the bobbleheads. So, yeah, when we get approached by a school like Michigan State to be a part of this, we jump on that opportunity. But we also keep our eyes open for other opportunities like it, and hopefully we don't miss any. But yeah, there's a lot of great opportunities, and this is the first bobblehead of Judd Heathcote. Hasn't been one of Tom Izzo in quite a while, and a special edition Sparty bobblehead. So yeah, I think fans will enjoy the series, and they're available individually or as a full collection of five.
This is a good opportunity, Phil, to sort of take a look at really an industry that I want to say at least 15, if not 20 years, it has really evolved from the classic Cupid doll type bobblehead to now custom made bobbleheads and likenesses and the like. And obviously the museum has been in the vanguard in that regard. Tell us a little bit about, how this has evolved, because when one thinks about bobbleheads, being a few years older, we still think of the Cupid doll ones, but that's far from that now.
Yeah, so they actually date back to the late 1700s. There's two figurines behind Queen Charlotte in her dressing room at Buckingham Palace, painting from the 1700s, and the heads actually knotted on those. They became popular in the U.S. in the 1960s when they had the first officially licensed sports bobbleheads of the baseball, basketball, football, and hockey teams. They sort of faded out in the 70s and 80s, but then 1999 was the first stadium giveaway for a player-specific bobblehead with the San Francisco Giants and Willie Mays. And since then, yeah, as you mentioned, they've evolved a lot. In 1999 or in the early 2000s, even 10 years ago, you wouldn't have a bobblehead of Tom Izzo standing on a ladder, waving the flag or waving the net in the same way that he did when Michigan State won that title. So yeah, it's a lot of changes, a lot of evolution, and you can even do custom bobbleheads of a friend, family member, or yourself. Just a single bobblehead nowadays.
So what led you and others involved to create the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum?
Yeah, so it started with just a passion for bobbleheads and collecting. We had one bobblehead in 2003 when the minor league team in Rockford, Illinois, gave away a bobblehead for the first time of their mascot, Rocco the Riverhawk, and that sort of turned into collection when we started to go to some games in the area, when going to school in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and the collection grew slowly over time. But 2013, we had about 3,000 bobbleheads accumulated somehow, and also sought out to produce a bobblehead for the first time. And so we put the idea of having a one-of-a-kind museum dedicated to bobbleheads, along with the company that produces and markets unique bobbleheads, and developed the idea for the museum. And we've been open to the public since February 1st, 2019, and have welcomed visitors from all 50 states and about 25 different countries to the museum, which is in Milwaukee and open 7 days a week. And then we also produce and market unique bobbleheads of all different genres and anything you can think of.
The thing that I would think has been really helpful, yeah, 2019 you mentioned about it starting, but really it sort of gained a lot of momentum when the museum got involved with the Dr. Anthony Fauci bobblehead during the 2020 COVID outbreak, and it just seemed as if that really put you guys on the map. Maybe I'm overstating it, but really I do remember that.
Yeah, so that is pretty true, I'd say. We've had some viral bobbleheads over the years. The first one really being Sister Jean from Loyola Chicago in 2018. So we got a lot of notoriety for that, both regionally and nationally. But then, yeah, the Dr. Fauci bobbleheads, and then the other pandemic-related bobbleheads of dozens of different governors and first responders, essential heroes, really, got us a lot of national and international attention, raised money for a great cause, and sold a lot of bobbleheads and kept us busy while the museum itself was closed during the pandemic. So it was sort of a win-win-win. It gave people a fun bobblehead and other bobbleheads as well.
With all due respect, Phil, are we getting to the point now where we are starting to see these classic ones especially, but even the ones that has been produced since 1999, having great value now, far more value than perhaps they were when they first came out? Are we seeing that now, or is it still a little too early for that?
No, we do see that. There's bobbleheads that were available last year that maybe sold for $40 that are selling for $400 or $500, and then some of the old ones selling for thousands of dollars. There was a Yankees bobblehead that sold for $90,000. A couple years ago. So yeah, there is definitely appreciation. Not all of them appreciate. There's some, you might have got at a Pistons game that, of a player that only played there for a year or two that might not be worth much, but then there's some that might sell for hundreds of dollars.
Now, the question then is, because with all due respect to the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame and Museum, if some of these sports Hall of Fames get a hold of, maybe you are getting a hold of these teams involved, putting one of their collections in, say, at Cooperstown or in Springfield for basketball, or Toronto for hockey, or Canton Canton for pro football. It's almost as if, hey, we have our own, but also we're also in the big Hall of Fames too.
Yeah, so there are bobbleheads in all those Hall of Fames as well. The Baseball Hall of Fame we've collaborated with. They sell our bobbleheads in the gift shop. There's also others. It's the Football Hall of Fame and College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. So yeah, it's definitely something that we collaborate with. We get a lot of bobbleheads from teams that send them in, from people that bring them in or drop them off. So yeah, we have now over 10,000 unique bobbleheads on display, and the more bobbleheads that are out there, whether it's at Hall of Fames or in people's collections or on display anywhere, is great for us.
And one final thing, Phil, there are some trends that have lasting value, and others are great for maybe 5 or 10 years, and then they fall off. You mentioned about the fact that the Cupid doll, as I call it, bobblehead, sort of faded out in the 1970s and 1980s. Where do you see this industry going as we go through this 2020s and then maybe into possibly 2030? Is it easy to forecast, or is the sky the limit, or what?
I think the sky really is the limit. You can turn anything into a bobblehead. They're sort of like Barbies, where they've remained consistent over the years and popular, as opposed to like a Beanie Baby, where the trend was popular, but they made in some cases millions of them, and people realize now that there's only a couple that might be worth anything, and most of them aren't worth much, but with bobbleheads, most of them are very limited. whether it's a team, that gives out 500 to 5,000, there's a very set, smaller number. A lot of the ones that we do are individually numbered, like the Michigan State ones, which are numbered to 2023. So there is that collectability, and there's fans all over the country and the world that are interested in them. And so, in the case of a giveaway, they can't, are not going to go to California to get a bobblehead of Steph Curry. It's a lot easier to go on eBay and maybe pay $75 or $100 for it. But it's all supply and demand. And as that supply goes down and demand goes up, the price keeps going up. And we see that continuing to be the most popular giveaway and through all the sports. And that really hasn't changed since the late 90s. And we don't really see anything to displace that. Fans see a lot of value in the bobbleheads and really just enjoy them. It's something fun to have around and a great way to show your pride for your favorite team or player or coach.